Hi everyone. Today you'll be working on an asynchronous activity for our club. We're going to be looking at symmetry. So we're going to be doing a simple project based on symmetry. Now just a reminder, symmetry is when things are equal on both sides. So we've talked about in class a lot, if we drew a line down the middle of our face, right? Our face is the same on both sides. I have two eyebrows, I have two eyes, two nostrils. My lip is the same on both sides. I have two ears, right? So a human face is something that is symmetrical. You also often find symmetry in lots of things in nature. And I'm going to share a video with you that will show you some examples of where you can find symmetry in shapes, in math, and in nature. And then I'll show you how we're going to do the project. Let me share my screen with you. And you'll see some of the cool imagery in this video that shows symmetry, when things are symmetrical.
Hi everyone! Today we're going to learn about symmetry. Symmetry is a concept that is commonly found in math, especially geometry, but it is also often discussed in art and design. An object that has symmetry can be divided into identical pieces. When an object has symmetry, we say that it is symmetrical. When an object does not have symmetry, we say that it is asymmetrical. There are many different types of geometric symmetry, but today we are only going to talk about the simplest form, reflectional symmetry. An object or image that has reflectional symmetry is like a mirror image. If you were to draw an imaginary line down the center of a symmetrical object and fold it in half along that line, the shapes would match up. This imaginary line is called a line of symmetry. Some symmetrical objects only have one line of symmetry, while others have more. For example, this triangle only has one line of symmetry, straight down the middle, because if you try to divide it any other way, the pieces don't match up. This triangle, on the other hand, has three lines of symmetry. You could fold it here, here, or here, and each time the halves would be the same. A square has four lines of symmetry. You could divide it in half from left to right, top to bottom, or from corner to corner either way. Symmetry is often found in nature. One favorite example of this is a butterfly. When a butterfly folds its wings, it is easy to see that they are the same shape. Now that you know what symmetry means, see if you can find symmetrical objects near you. You may be surprised by how many things are symmetrical.
All right, so you can take a look around your house and you can find things that you see that are symmetrical. What we're going to do today is a drawing that will show you how to make something completely like a mirrored image. So if you draw something on one side of the paper, it's going to be reflected exactly on the other side of the paper, because we know when we just draw by hand, sometimes that's hard to do. So I'm going to show you a technique for doing that. Now I'm just making one video today, okay? So if you're in kindergarten, you want to keep your drawing just a simple drawing, okay? And if you're in 5th grade, you might be adding a little bit more detail. So just make this your own, make this appropriate for something that you feel comfortable doing, okay? I'm going to show a couple of examples, but like I said, you can create this symmetrical drawing in any way that you want to, okay? So here's an example of doing symmetry using an abstract design. So this is just an organic shape, and you can see when I fold my paper in half, these are exactly the same on both sides, okay? You may choose to do an insect or something that you find in nature. So like in the video, they talked about a butterfly. If my butterfly were to fold its wings together, they would be exactly symmetrical, the same on both sides. When I fold this paper right down the middle, my butterfly is the same on this side and on this side. Okay, so you can choose to draw something abstract. You can draw an insect if you're interested in that, or an animal, or some other sort of picture that you're interested in. And you can even do just some interesting shapes. Okay, so it's up to you the drawing that you want to make today. All right, I'm going to share my document camera with you and show you how we can make this exactly symmetrical. Because when we look at this, if we spend the time to draw our butterfly, I'm trying to get a good view for you here. If we spend the time to draw this butterfly, it can be really challenging to replicate the exact same thing on the other side. So we are going to look at how we can make something exactly the same. And I'm going to be working with, let me hold this up so you can see the other way. I'm going to be working with just a small piece of paper today. So I actually just took a piece of paper and cut it so that it was rather small. You don't need to work with a full-size sheet of paper. You can make a small drawing today if you prefer. It's up to you. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my paper and I'm going to raise up my document camera a little bit. So just hold on 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. This should make, this is a little bit clearer. I raised the camera up for you guys. So you can see that when I fold this down the middle, this butterfly is exactly symmetrical, okay? So I'm gonna take my small piece of paper, and you can use any size that you want, and I'm gonna fold it in half. So I wanna take it, and I'm gonna fold mine this way, and I'm gonna line up the two corners. So I'm gonna line up these two corners on each side, and then you want to just make a nice fold crease right down the middle. Now I'm just using printer paper. You can use any paper you have. You can use an old worksheet. You can use something from school like an old flyer, mail, anything you have to work with, notebook paper. And there's a slight crease down the middle of my paper. I know that's hard for you to see, right? Because I've folded this in half. All right, so the first thing you want to do is, if I wanted to make, I guess I'll draw an insect for this one. You're just going to draw, and I'm going to press lightly because I may want to change my design. I'm going to just draw half of my insect. Right, the center of my insect is right on that fold, okay? And I'll make this kind of like a dragonfly. I'm going to make some big giant wings, and you may decide, depending on the amount of detail you want to add, you may decide to make some patterns. Now, you can do this with either a crayon, a dark crayon, or a pencil. With the pencil, you're going to want to press fairly hard and trace over these lines once you like your design. Okay, so I'm going to trace these pretty hard, and I'll show you how it works with the crayon as well. I want to press these pretty hard. Okay, and this will be my design. Now, I'm going to fold the paper in half like this, and you will be able to see your design through this paper. This paper is thin enough that I can see my design. So I'm actually going to, I've folded it in half, and I'm going to trace on top of my lines on the back side of this paper. Okay, I'm going to trace over them, and I'm pressing fairly hard. Not so hard that I'm breaking my pencil, but I'm pressing fairly hard. You can see my lines are pretty dark. So you just want to trace your design, pressing fairly hard. You could also hold this up to a window and trace on the glass. Hold this up to a window. If I'm gonna actually finish this head like that because I don't think I did that. And if you can't, if you're having trouble seeing through, and the light will help you see through. Now when I open it up, this design has been mirrored onto this side of my paper. So now I can go in and darken this up with my pencil, And then you will have a perfectly symmetrical design. And you can choose to color this in with crayons or colored pencils. You could even do it with marker, whatever you have available. But by doing this folding technique, you're ensuring that everything you've drawn on this side is completely mirrored onto this side. Okay, so here's an example of doing that with an insect, and you can just go ahead and take your crayons. I'm not going to keep the video going, but you can take your crayons and color or colored pencils and really color in your design really nice. So you can see a colored version here with this butterfly. Now, if you want to, you can also do something abstract, and I'll show you with the crayons. So once again, I'm going to fold my paper in half like this and line up my corners. Press down and make a crease in my paper, and then open that up. So it's like I've made a little card, right? Like a birthday card or something. And I'm going to then open this up. Now I'm going to do the same concept, but I'm just going to use a crayon. Okay, so if you want to draw first your design with your pencil, if I wanted to come in and draw something first with my pencil so I know I like it, I can do that. So if I wanted to make some kind of organic shape and maybe give this some designs. Okay, so keeping this a little simpler, you could have done this right off the start with the crayon, or you can do it with the pencil. If I do this with a crayon instead of the pencil, this waxy residue from the crayon will transfer over to the other side in the same fashion. So I'm going to fold this in half. Okay, this technique allows for you, with the crayon, allows for you to see a little clearer. So for my kindergarten students, the black crayon works really well because you can see your design through the paper a little bit better than you can with the pencil. Okay, so I'm just tracing over. You can even kind of hear how that wax is transferring onto the other side. I'm going to trace over my design with the pencil. And then when I open this up, my image is mirrored clear to the other side. And it's a little darker. You can see it came out a little darker using the crayon than the pencil. And then you can just go in and trace over those lines, darken them up a little bit, and then use some other crayons or colored pencils, and you can color in the rest of your design. Okay, so this would be a completed example of an organic abstract design. Okay, so I hope that you enjoy experimenting with creating this symmetry. You can, like I said, create any kind of design that you want. You can make it abstract, you can do an insect, you can do an animal, you can do a portrait. If you wanted to do a human face, if you drew half, you would be able to mirror the other side. So get creative with it. I would love to see your pictures. Post them on Seesaw or Schoology, or you can post them on the Padlet. I love seeing the work that you're doing at home, especially when we're asynchronous and I don't get to see it on our call. So I hope you enjoy the project, and I can't wait to see what you come up with.